Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast, the podcast dedicated to healthcare security, safety, and emergency management. If you are involved with a healthcare security program or desire to be, this podcast is for you. Join the conversation as we discuss the issues that matter to healthcare security professionals while leveraging the expertise of healthcare security thought leaders and experts in personal development. And now, here's your host, Brian Hamilton.
Before we jump into the show, I just want to thank my sponsors and collaborators. 3D Network Technology, reliability is our core value. Visit www.3dnetworktechnology.com. And Genetec, delivering security strategies for healthcare. Visit Genetec, that's GENETEC.com for more information. We'd also like to thank the Change Execution Group and 360 Life Transformations. Visit www.360lifetransformations.com. We'd also like to thank Canadian Security Magazine and Omnigo Software. And now, let's get into today's show. Welcome to the Healthcare Security Cast. Today, we're joined by Daniel Henderson. Daniel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
You're very welcome. And you know where I'm going with the first question. Who is Daniel Henderson?
Daniel Henderson is nobody, trying to tell everybody about something, trying to add value wherever he goes. I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a little bit of everything in the security realm. I am someone who probably needs some credit but doesn't want it. So yeah, that's Daniel in a nutshell.
Oh, fair enough. Now, Daniel, can you talk to us a little bit about what you do today and how you got into the healthcare security realm?
Well, today I am the manager of security for Regional One Health, which is a level 1 trauma center located in Memphis, Tennessee. What put me in this realm was I was introduced to it by a couple of mentors and friends. And it was like, hey, you should try security. You're a big guy, you'll do great. It's kind of like when people say, hey, you're tall, do you play basketball? So I got into this field in the career field officially in 2006. My first place of work was with a contract security company, Guardsmark, which was later acquired by Allied Universal. I was naive, man. They sent me to a hospital. I hadn't been into a healthcare facility since the passing of my mom in 1993 when I was 6 years old. So it was a different experience. I was not prepared for it. I was not prepared for the environment. I was not prepared for what I was about to encounter. And it was most definitely one of those scary feelings in the pit of my stomach. Later on, I got used to it. I got promoted to a shift lead, a sergeant on the shift. I worked 2 days a week as a sergeant, got to lead people. My first leadership job, 21 years old, with people who would always tell me that they had children my age. I didn't realize how or what I was getting myself into at the time, but I knew that what we did was important to the organization and we impacted a lot of people. It was not my original career plan. I have an IT background, so IT was my path. That's where I was going. I knew I was going there. Graduated school, applied for some jobs, thought I didn't have enough experience or a bunch of other things. And my former branch manager, Larry Robertson, and my former director, Robert Montaque, encouraged me to take healthcare security seriously and really embrace it. And when I did, I can honestly say I've held every position within my department, from officer to training manager to investigator to site manager, account manager, now manager of security. And we also are over the parking department as well. So I've held every position in that particular department as well, from cashier to shuttle driver to manager. So I've been here, I've embraced it, I'm loving it. All of the challenges, it's never a dull day. I still get to work in an environment where I needed, and I utilized my IT background and my security background to hopefully make a better place and a safer place for all those who are in our campus here.
Absolutely. No, that's some great stuff. Now, I'm curious because you filled all of these different roles. You've basically done probably, it sounds like, every position that you could possibly do in your department. What were, I guess, what were some of the common themes? What were some of the things that made you effective in all of those roles? Is there any skills that you could share with us that are going to be, I guess, transferable skills that will help you in any role you're in this field?
So if I can offer any a skill set or advice, would be a constant student. Learn all you can. I'm not talking about just going to a university or college. I am talking about if it involves your department and if it involves your place of work. I meet with a lot of nurses to learn how their processes go. I meet with IT to learn how their processes go to be better in my job, to be better in serving them. At the end of the day, healthcare is about service. So in order to do that, I have to have an understanding of a little bit of everything. And in that position, I can only say holding all those positions helped me understand the challenges at each position. So it kind of prepared me for the next level.
Awesome. And another thing that you alluded to, you had mentioned a few names there. So the next thing I'd like to know is who were your mentors and what were some of the things that you learned from them that you still apply today?
Wow. Great question. Amazing list. I probably would never tell them that they were my mentors. Some were voluntary, some were involuntary. Um, I would like to, if I could say who those people were, Larry Robinson, Robert Montaque, who's my former director, George Winton, Phillamone Berry, who's a nurse. He was a nurse manager when I met him. Charles Lapsley was a nurse manager when I met him. Frederick Tappan. I mean, the list goes on and on of people who mentored and took me in and embraced me to teach me. Jamal Williams was a former associate branch manager for Ally University, and all these people taught me a lot. They taught me about the different markets. Mike Dunning at Ally Universal, Rick Ward at Ally Universal. All these people were just intricate at every point of my career. Anthony Craig, he worked for Ally Universal when I met him. He's now deputy chief at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Tony Armstrong, and the encounters we've had, former police director, and now he runs the security department at St. Jude. It's just a number of people that impacted. Alan Hardrick was one of the people. Diesha Binion was my first supervisor when I started in the security world, and it really opened my eyes to women in security. And she challenged the status quo, and she really embraced who I was and what I did, and it was just amazing. I mean, and there are a lot more people that I forgot to mention. And I'm pretty sure by the time they hear this podcast, they're going to remind me that I forgot to mention them. Jocelyn Singleton, nurse manager. This goes on. Audra Owens, Monica Patel, Veronica Lemock. I mean, all these people work in different multidisciplinary departments. They are a huge impact on me learning, and I learned how to be what I needed to be for the organization through them. D.Arcy Deveaux. I won't forget to mention him. He's one of our staff chaplains, and he's been a great impact on me as well.
Oh, that's awesome. And, you really drew from a lot of people. And I can share the same thing when I got asked this question and I went on for a really long time. And I know that there's people that I didn't include too. There's so many people that impact us on our journey.
Right.
And I think that actually segues well to the next point, which is what we wanted to talk about today. And that's making positive impacts.
Yes.
So what is it that made you passionate about this topic? And I guess we can start by talking about, how you make a positive impact and, what making a positive impact means to you.
So in everything we do, we impact something, whether we realize it or not. What we do has to be positive. And the reason being is everything's like a domino effect. And I learned this from the contract security world because that was kind of one of the first things I was taught was my mistake can cost however many number of people here their position. And that was it was a hard pill to swallow. People, society, the world, if you look at the news, it's always something negative, it's always something drama filled, and there are not a lot of positive things being shown, being displayed for people to have any space for joy. So my hello, my how are you, my post on LinkedIn, text message, my quick response could change the direction of an emotion, an attitude, an idea, or a plan that day. I believe in being positive because negativity cannot survive within it. If you're a positive person, you can never be negative. There's never a negative situation that you can handle as long as you remain positive. So I think that's why that's important to me. And working in healthcare security, you have to realize people do not come to the hospital because they want to. It is not something that they wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to the hospital today to find out that I have a terminal illness or one of my family members is severely injured or they're going to be severely injured today. And I'm okay with that because I just want to visit the hospital today. Everybody that you encounter, even employees, I mean, COVID was a true test of mental stability and mental health. So being positive during those moments as you watch people pass, as you know, Brian, one of my mentees and who eventually became one of my brothers passed right after Christmas to COVID. So it being positive became even more relevant then because it is expected when you work in the security realm that you're not compassionate and you don't understand that people go through things because your job is to enforce a rule or a policy. When you work in public service, people feel like you don't understand um, what they're going through, like you're not human because you wear a uniform or you hold a position that requires you to enforce or delegate. But the truth is, when we take off the costume for the day, when we clock out, we are still human. The same pain that everyone else feels, we still feel. So trying to be positive and trying to make an impact on each individual person is important to all of us. And it should be important to all of us. Whether you work in healthcare or you work in a warehouse, keeping a smile on your face and making sure people are okay is an important thing.
Absolutely. And yeah, you hit on a lot of great points there. Yeah, obviously this has been a challenging time for everyone trying to just kind of figure out a solution for this and get through this challenging time. But to lose somebody in the midst of all that, another challenge as well. Like I relate back to before any of this happened. You know, my dad passed away, and my dad was 71 years old when he passed. He did have a lot of health concerns, but I always just took it for granted that he had more time. And with somebody who is, you know, your age or younger than you, it especially when you have that close relationship, I can see it being that much harder because you just don't expect that.
Yeah. When I was younger, if you, I was always asked if you wish for anything more, what would it be? It'd be more time. And when you lose someone, regardless of what age they are, you always wish they had more time. It's natural to be, and I hate to say that, but as humans, we're naturally selfish. You know, when it's someone close to us, we of course we want them to live forever,
Yep.
irregardless to how they feel, their conditions. We want to say, stay here until I die, and then die after me. And we have to remember that people never really die if we remember them, and we will never forget them if we take the time to create those memories. So I am a strong believer in being encouraged and staying encouraged and keeping others encouraged. It helps with team building. It helps with relationships. It helps with partnerships. It's just one of those things where people would rather deal with you because you're positive. They want to see you. They're happy to see you as opposed to a person who is always pointing out the negative in a situation. So I never, it's just like I never believe in failures. All failures are lessons. We all have something to learn from them. And it is our duty to take that lesson and learn from it and teach someone else so they won't have to have that lesson in life.
Awesome. Now, some of the things that you spoke about earlier is just as the ways that you create a positive impact. Like there's a number of things you mentioned, and one of them that stuck out for me was, you just said kind of casually sending a text message. Now, I had Glenn Lundy on a while back to talk about the 5 things that he does as part of his morning routine. And the way that he kind of caps everything off after he takes time to do all this stuff for himself is by sending a positive message to somebody else. So this guy, he has a pretty big following on social media and in the industry that he works in. So he has he has a large group of people to pick from to just send a message to. And he just, every day he just picks somebody and sends that message. And, it's not only a positive thing for that individual when they receive the message, but he says it's a positive thing for him as well. Do you kind of feel the same way when you send one of those messages to somebody and just try to kind of uplift them?
Yeah, most definitely. As we are hitting the curve with COVID, we talk about new normals. I would like to start the new normal being positive. I mean, before COVID, it wasn't a trend. So being positive now is most definitely when I pick someone out of the group, I am very, very adamant about sending positive messages to people or just having positive conversations with people. Sometimes people just need to hear something other than a negative. It is, trust me, sometimes it's hard to do in certain situations. It's hard to find that positive. It's hard to find that sunshine in those gray areas, but we have to look at situations that, and I really realized that it could be worse. It could be very much so worse than what it is right now. And I mean, yes, it's hard right now. It hurts right now. It doesn't. It's uncomfortable right now. But what do we do when we get comfortable? We go to sleep. We stop paying attention. We do things that are not normal in the midst of chaos and panic. And I think being able to keep your calm and keep your peace in the midst of chaos is important. Sending those messages is important. I have a lot of friends who talk about sending positive messages out in the universe. You have to send them out. If it's just giving $1 to the guy who you see beg for $1 every day, it doesn't matter what he's going to do with it. It doesn't matter what she's going to do with it. The fact is, you want to make that positive. You want to plant that seed of positivity right then, and the rewards from it you may not see today, but tomorrow when something random happens and you didn't expect it, like Brian calls you and say, "Hey, I want you on my podcast," it's most definitely worth it. So I do believe, and I love doing it. I love being positive. And it does not mean that I don't have any negative days. It doesn't mean that there are not days where I feel down, but I push myself to remain positive always.
Yeah, I guess it's like anything else. It's really just getting that momentum when you can really get, I guess, behind that idea and get that first positive action. It's always hard. It's always the hardest just starting. But once you kind of do that, I can definitely see how it can change your mind frame if you're in a negative mindset and you take that effort to be positive for someone else. It can definitely help you in that sense.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing in terms of just some of the examples you gave, have you seen this, or I guess a better phrase that as, how have you seen this have a impact on your team? This positive attitude.
It's helped with retention. We're less likely to lose people when people feel like they're appreciated. They're happy where they are. One of the biggest things, me and my director Terrel, who is also one of those great people that I had the pleasure of meeting just recently, was officers needed new uniforms, and we stuck on that. We got them new uniforms, and they stood up, and it seemed like when they put those new uniforms on, it's like I just got a team of superheroes because they walked better, they talked better, they stood up straight, they felt a sense of accomplishment. having words when people are frustrated, because healthcare is hard. Nurses and doctors were fighting through COVID, but the support services groups were too. And we were coming to work every day, irregardless to the conditions. I mean, we had, I know, Brian, me and you had a meeting back in February, and we called it Snowvid because we had seen the most snow we've seen in Memphis in years. And it basically shut the city down, and officers still were coming in. They were working hard, they were accomplishing the goals, and they attempted to make a difference within the organization. And as a lot of people can attest to, security has a hard job. They're not the most respected, and they're not the most appreciated until a situation happens. So it was a great feeling to see, nurses saying, hey, we appreciate your officers and they're doing well, and we share those positive messages, and we try to share a positive message every week with the team to ensure that that motivation keeps going. As everybody, we've had staffing issues all around due to COVID, but we just want to make sure that our officers know that, hey, we're here for you. We appreciate you. What you do is not in vain. It does not go unnoticed. And that is one of the things I feel as leaders, and even as people, we have to start showing appreciation for the small things. I mean, found myself at the grocery store just thanking the grocery clerks for just doing their job. It's not much, and it may not be much to them, but they decided to get up today and make a difference in my life by helping me feed my family by stocking the shelves. I mean, it's just those little things, and I've learned to be more appreciative of those little things that we don't notice and we take for granted on a daily basis. So, yeah, being positive has most definitely changed the dynamic of our department.
That's awesome stuff. Now, I want to kind of circle back to your career, and for anybody listening, because you're a pretty young guy yourself, and you've moved through you moved through the ranks pretty quickly. Actually, I don't even want to say pretty quickly. It's over the course of a decade. I'm really condensing it, but you've worked a lot of different positions and done different things. What advice would you give a younger professional, or someone who's just getting started in a frontline role in this industry, in terms of how they can grow themselves and move into a position like yours, for example?
So, yeah, like I said, I started when I was 20. I'm 34 now. I'll be 35 next month. If I could give advice to anyone, it would be learn your craft, learn what it takes to go to the next level. If you are a leader, be a leader without the title first, because you have to be a leader without the title before you obtain the title. Understand that things do not happen in the microwave. A lot of times, and I'm using this term loosely, you can trademark it if you want to, but life happens in a smoker. It's low and slow. So there are going to be times where it feels like you're waiting years for something to happen and people to notice. Be humble. You don't always have to broadcast, but also brag on yourself a little bit. It's okay to say, hey, I'm good at this. See me. Explore your options. Explore your career field. What else does your career field offer? Because, like I said, I started off in IT and ended up in security, and I learned a lot. And always connect with people who are doing what you do. Take time to kind of decompress. A day in the life of a healthcare security officer can be very stressful, and it's always good to be able to talk to people who understand. A lot of my family is law enforcement, so we share some of the same experiences. So we talk a lot, but it's always good to meet someone from somewhere else who can talk just as well as you can talk about the experiences that they have and how they cope with them. And sometimes talking just helps you cope with it and be able to go back and do it again. And I guess the final thing I would tell them is know the why. The why is the most important thing when clocking in, clocking out. You have to know your why, because your why is what's going to drive your trajectory up, forward, wherever you want to go, and then know what you want to accomplish. Know what that looks like. Know how that looks. You can't say I deserve to be a manager, or I deserve to be a director, or I deserve to run a department if you don't know why you deserve to run it. It does take time. And then learn from those who are already in those positions. Pay attention. Brad Fetterman with Performance Point, we've been doing leadership cohorts at Region 1, and Brad Fetterman was one of the guys who said, you can't look down to go up. You have to look up and see what they're doing. So if you're not checking off those boxes when you look up, how do they dress? How do they look? How do they act? It is hard to move in that position when it's time. It was hard to remain in that position. You may get an opportunity to be in that position. And I always say take all opportunities that you can. I'm not saying run from place to find a place, but look at all opportunities. If you have opportunity to interview somewhere and they're showing true interest in you, interview and learn what you can do better for the next interview when you don't get the position. Always follow up, always ask those questions. Being young is hard, and being young and a leader is even harder because you have to prove that you are professionally mature and you're able to handle what comes before before you get the experience. Because I think that's the hardest thing in this career field was, everywhere you apply to, they ask for these years of experience, and it's like, hey man, I literally just walked out of the high school doors, so I don't have them yet. But yeah, to gain experience, you have to ask people who are already experienced, and you have to give yourself a shot. You have to start practicing, even if you're not in that position.
Absolutely. Lots of great points that you made there. The one thing too, being a leader without a title is really important because, like you said, especially when you're a younger leader and you're leading people who, again, I've had that same example thrown at me. I have kids older than you, right? When you're a younger leader, and for me, this was before I was in the security field. But in those situations, your title is only going to carry you so far. So you have to really develop those leadership skills and get people to want to follow you. One book that I read that was really helpful for me was John Maxwell's 360 degree leadership. That's one that's really helpful. So if you're in a role right now that doesn't have a leadership title to it, but you want to know how to impact your organization, I'd say that's a good starting point. Another great point that you brought up as well was that whole microwave effect, where we're in the society now where we want things quickly. And I think you're a perfect testament to this, of 14 years of just progressively just getting better and better each day. If you just get a little bit better each day, it compounds, it accumulates over time. So it's another thing for people to think about. And also the kind of, I'll kind of summarize with this. The one thing that you mentioned as well is, and I'll go back to a Jim Rohn quote for this, but you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So really surround yourself with those people who are doing the things that you want to do, or the people that you can learn from, the quality, good character people. And that's going to help you grow.
And I think another thing I would tell people is meet your superheroes. And even if they disappoint you, just know that something about them made them superheroes. So whatever you saw doesn't change because you find out something different later. So understand that, you want to mimic the quality of what you see and what you perceive sometimes, as opposed to what is actually the truth. I met some of my superheroes in life, and they turned out not to be what I thought they were. And yes, it's disappointing, but it did not change the fact that they were my superheroes because I thought these were the qualities that they possess. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to possess those qualities to still be that person that you saw. So
Yeah, and that's another great point too. When we have the people that we look up to, don't put them on too much of a pedestal, because just because somebody's great in one area, it doesn't mean that they're great in every aspect of life. And if you put them on that pedestal, you can definitely be disappointed when they don't live up to where you've elevated them to.
right, right, most definitely.
Awesome. Now, I know we've hit on a lot of points here, just in terms of career development and your career as it is, and just having a positive impact. Is there anything that we left out, or anything I probably should have asked you to this point that I haven't?
I wouldn't say that there is. I think you as usual, you cover everything. I I am just a strong believer of keeping keeping my mindset to where we are in this together. And sometimes being in this together is not just right where you are. And I will be the first to go on record to say that Brian, meeting you has opened my eyes to actually meeting other people when we do those networking events. And these are people that I probably wouldn't have thought to reach out to or talk to prior to meeting you. So I am learn. I teach people, and I learn myself to always be appreciative of the people that help you learn something else. And I personally want to thank you and give you these flowers today for just being that positive impact on me, and allowing me to network with you and network with the people that you network with, and those people that allows me to network, so on and so forth. And it has allowed me to look at not just where I am, but at other places, and say, hey, we're in this together. If you need something, reach out, call. And I encourage everyone listening to this podcast. If you're not connected to me, you can connect to me and reach out. If you want to just talk, I am available. Brian, I tell you, I will try to make myself as available as possible, and I will probably reach out to you, because we're all in this together, and we never have to reinvent the wheel. So I think that's what a lot of us do when we get into positions. We try to reinvent a wheel that's already rolling, and there are people who's already doing what we're doing. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell for me.
No, that's awesome, because you answered my next question as well. So I guess you did talk about people reaching out to you and connecting with you. I connected with you on LinkedIn personally. What are your preferences for people to connect with you or reach out?
So I'm only on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I can honestly say 3 years ago, I made a New Year's resolution to get off all social media unless it was adding value to who I was. And LinkedIn was the only social media site that I felt was adding value at the time. And that's it. I stuck to it. So if you want to contact me, LinkedIn is the best way. You can reach out if you want an email address or a phone number. I'm prone to that. I am a little bit of I'm a young guy with an old soul, so I if you want to reach out, you can reach out. I'll give you my number. I will talk to you on the phone, so or I will text you if you text me. It doesn't matter one way or the other. But just understand, if you ask me a question, I am going to be honest. I am a very truthful person, even if it hurts your feelings. I share my opinions, and I respect yours. So, but yeah, if they want to reach out, LinkedIn is the place to be. That's where I'm always I'm always looking, always lurking, always watching, and trying to learn something new. I've never read so many articles. I got on LinkedIn and I started reading all the articles that pop up, and people share. And I also encourage people, uh, podcasts are the way to go. I get a lot of information from Brian, especially your podcast, when you have guests on. and it opens my mind to a different way of thinking. And that's what I really would like for the world to get back to, is just respecting people's opinion without giving a negative opinion because you don't agree. Just understanding that it's the way the person thinks and respecting the fact that they thought enough to have their own thoughts. So, which is a rarity in this world now. So that is one of the ways to reach me and reach out to me. I would give an email address, but I have so many of them. So if you reach out, I'll give you one to reach out to me at. But yeah.
Yeah, you and me both. I think at prime time, there's about, when school is in and everything, there's probably about 8 email addresses that I'm trying to monitor at any given time.
Yeah.
So no, I appreciate that. Now, I guess the final thing I'll ask is, what can we expect from you moving forward, Daniel?
Just stay tuned. I can't predict the future. Stay tuned. There are a lot of things that I would love to do, and love to get a little more insight on. So just stay tuned. I will update and show people a lot more. You will see a lot more of the positive messages. I know I've been slacking the last few weeks because before this meeting and before I wanted to handle the situation before we started, someone said, "Hey, I hadn't seen the post on LinkedIn the last couple of days. What's going on?" I just got back from a wedding, so I'm trying to figure out what the right words to say. And the thing about being positive or putting out positive messages is that they don't come automatic. It is more of a, when you're sitting in quiet, and I do a lot of quiet time. So, and speaking of books, you spoke of a couple of books that are great books. Right now, I'm reading Crucial Accountability. I read Crucial Conversations, and it was suggested that I read Crucial Accountability. So Crucial Accountability has been on my list, as well as The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, which has been a great read so far. And the only reason I started reading the book was because of the title, and I hate to admit that right now. But
yeah, I'd hate to admit the same thing, but yeah, it's the title did grab my attention too.
So, yeah, I'm learning to read more. Reading has most definitely helped develop who I am and help kind of paint the picture of where I want to go. So, far as future, there's no telling. You may see me at a emergency management team somewhere one day. I don't know. I am just walking the path that was created for me. So, and I truly believe in that. And I like the path that I'm on. So, onward and upward is all I can say. And I'm enjoying it, all this ride, even the potholes and the obstacles. I'm enjoying it. Yeah. So.
Well, I appreciate that. And thank you for the kind words as well. You know, I didn't realize that, that I had that kind of impact on you. So that means a lot. I appreciate that. Because again, you never know. Like you said, you send messages to people and you do these different things, but you don't know if it's really having an impact on somebody tells you. So I definitely appreciate that. And again, thank you for sharing your time. Thank you for sharing a bit about yourself. And, I'll just close by saying I appreciate you, and I appreciate you making the time for me today.
Hey, no problem, Brian. And look, if you ever want me to come back, I will. I'll figure out another topic.
Absolutely. The Healthcare Security Cast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music and Audible, and many other platforms as well. Check out our Linktree on your computer or mobile device. And this can be found at linktree/Brian Hamilton. That's linktr.ee/Brian, BRINE, Hamilton. Again, that's linktr.ee/Brian Hamilton. Or if it's easier, send me a text at 647-372-2042. That's 647-372-2042. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have or share any links you may be looking for. Thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care and stay safe.